In ancient Galilee, along the western shore of the Sea of Galilee, Mary Magdalene was born in the town of Magdala. This settlement lay by the water, with its stone houses arranged along pathways that led down to the lake, where boats moved across the surface and fishermen worked their nets. The area supported a community focused on trade, with goods like salted fish and textiles exchanged in the market, and the daily routines revolved around the lake's resources. Families lived in straightforward homes, built from local materials, and the landscape included terraced fields on the nearby slopes, growing grains and vines that provided for the people. The sea itself influenced life, with its waves lapping against the shore and birds calling overhead, while springs nearby supplied fresh water for the town. Mary's early years took place in this setting, where mornings started with light spreading over the water and evenings brought a cooler air from the hills. She likely grew up in a household connected to the town's activities, perhaps involved in tasks related to the market or home, amid the sounds of voices bargaining and carts moving over the ground. The community followed established traditions, gathering for meals and observing practices that tied them to their heritage, with synagogues serving as places for quiet reflection. The environment offered a steady rhythm, from the work of preparing fish to weaving cloth, all under the open sky that stretched wide above the lake. Travelers passed through Magdala on routes linking to other areas, bringing news and items from afar, which added a sense of connection to the wider world without disrupting the town's calm pace. The land around Magdala featured hills that rose gradually, covered in greenery that changed with the seasons, from spring growth to harvest time. The sea provided a constant backdrop, its surface calm on still days or stirred by winds, and the air carried scents from the water and earth. In such a place, young Mary would have experienced the ordinary flow of days, helping with chores or observing the work of others, as families supported one another in their efforts. The town's position by the lake meant a life tied to its cycles, with boats coming in at dusk loaded with the day's catch, and evenings spent in the warmth of home. This background shaped a sense of belonging, where shared labor and simple interactions formed the fabric of daily existence. As Mary matured, the familiar sights of Magdala, the docks where boats were tied, the paths winding through olive groves, and the market stalls under shade, remained part of her world. The community, though modest, thrived on the lake's abundance, with people exchanging goods and stories in a manner that fostered quiet bonds. Synagogues stood as central points, where readings and prayers occurred in measured tones, reflecting the area's long-standing customs. The hills provided spaces for walking or gathering herbs, and the water's edge offered moments of stillness, watching the horizon. Life here moved without haste, allowing for contemplation amid the tasks at hand, and the changing light over the sea marked the passage of time in a predictable way. Magdala's location encouraged a balance between work and rest, with the sea's presence offering both livelihood and a soothing view. Families like Mary's navigated the seasons, planting in fertile soil and harvesting under clear skies, while the town's trade routes brought occasional variety. The air often held the tang of salt from the water, mixed with earth from the fields, creating an environment grounded in nature's patterns. In this context, Mary's formative experiences unfolded steadily, building a foundation rooted in the town's enduring ways. The community emphasized mutual support, with neighbors sharing resources during lean times, and the landscape's features, the gentle slopes, the reliable springs, contributed to a sense of stability. Over the years, as Mary observed the world around her, the town's rhythms became ingrained, from the early calls of fishermen to the evening quiet when lamps lit the homes. The sea, vast and unchanging, served as a constant reminder of life's broader scope, while the hills offered seclusion for thought. This early phase, marked by the town's practical yet peaceful existence, prepared the ground for later paths, where the familiar became a touchstone amid change. The market's hum, the water's flow, and the earth's yield all played roles in shaping a life attuned to simplicity and connection. The details of Magdala's daily life, preparing meals from local produce, mending nets by the shore, or tending small gardens, filled the days with purpose. Families gathered for shared evenings, recounting events in low voices, fostering a sense of continuity. The environment, with its mix of water, land, and sky, provided a backdrop that encouraged resilience without fanfare. As time passed, these elements wove together, forming the early chapters of a journey that would extend beyond the town's borders. The sea's horizon, always visible, hinted at possibilities, while the hills stood firm, grounding the present. In this way, Mary's beginnings in Magdala laid a calm base, where ordinary moments held quiet depth. Along the shores of the Sea of Galilee, where the water met the land in a steady rhythm, Mary Magdalene's path crossed with that of Jesus in a moment that shifted the course of her days. The lake stretched out wide and calm, its surface reflecting the soft light of the sun as it moved across the sky, with small waves lapping against the pebbles in a pattern as regular as breathing. Fishermen worked their boats nearby, their nets dipping into the depths with quiet purpose, while the air carried the faint tang of salt and the distant murmur of voices from the town. In this familiar landscape, Mary had lived amid her own quiet struggles, carrying burdens that weighed on her spirit like shadows lengthening at day's end. The details of her inner challenges remained veiled in the passages of time, but they spoke of a time when unrest stirred within, much like ripples disturbing the lake's still surface. Jesus, traveling through the region with his companions, moved with a presence that drew people toward him. His steps measured along the paths bordered by reeds and wild grasses. The encounters he had with those around him unfolded in simple settings, perhaps by the water's edge, where the ground sloped gently down to meet the sea, or in the shade of a fig tree whose leaves rustled faintly in the breeze. Mary found herself in his path during one such ordinary day, the sun hanging low and casting a warm glow over the hills that rolled away in the distance. The meeting carried no fanfare, no sudden disruption, but rather a gradual unfolding, like dawn spreading across the horizon. He approached with a steadiness that invited calm, his words and actions addressing the hidden weights that others carried, offering release in a manner as natural as the tide receding. In that encounter, the turmoil that had lingered within Mary began to ease, as if a quiet hand steadied the waters of a troubled stream. The process felt like a soft unraveling, where the knots of inner conflict loosened without force, allowing a sense of clarity to emerge like light filtering through clouds after a storm. The shore provided a fitting backdrop, with its even expanse of water mirroring the gradual return to balance, the small stones underfoot grounding the moment in the earth's solid presence. Birds skimmed the surface nearby, their wings dipping in silent arcs, while the air grew still, as though the world paused to witness the shift. Mary's release from her burdens came not as a dramatic upheaval, but as a peaceful restoration, where what had once disrupted her inner world dissolved into the broader flow of life around her. From that point, the days took on a different texture, with the lake's calm serving as a reminder of the change that had occurred. The water continued its endless cycle, drawing in and releasing, much like the way old patterns faded to make room for new paths. Jesus' presence in the region brought others to similar moments of quiet transformation. But for Mary, this encounter marked a turning, where the weight she had carried lifted, leaving space for what lay ahead. The hills in the background stood unchanging, their slopes covered in greenery that shifted subtly with the wind, offering a sense of continuity amid personal renewal. The sea's horizon stretched far, suggesting possibilities beyond the immediate shore, while the everyday sounds, the soft splash of oars, the call of distant gulls, woven into the background, reinforced the ordinary beauty of the setting. As time passed following this meeting, Mary's steps along the familiar paths felt lighter, the landscape around her appearing in softer focus. The reeds by the water bent gently, and the sun's rays danced on the surface, creating patterns that invited lingering glances. The town of Magdala, with its steady routines, remained the same, yet her place within it evolved, as if the inner calm now mirrored the lake's tranquil depths. This transformative moment, set against the enduring backdrop of Galilee's shores, became a quiet pivot, where unrest gave way to a deeper sense of alignment with the world. The air, warmed by the sun or cooled by evening breezes, carried a subtle shift, as though the environment itself acknowledged the change. The healing lingered in the days that followed, like the afterglow of sunset, painting the sky in fading colors. Walks by the water's edge brought a renewed appreciation for the simple elements. The feel of sand underfoot, the distant silhouette of boats returning at dusk. The hills rolled on, their contours familiar and reassuring, while the sea's vastness offered a canvas for reflection. In this serene environment, Mary's journey continued, the encounter serving as a soft bridge to what came next, where the burdens of the past receded like waves pulling back from the shore. The overall atmosphere of the region, with its balanced interplay of land and water, supported this gradual unfolding, allowing the restoration to settle deeply and endure. Over the ensuing periods, the memory of that meeting blended into the fabric of daily life, much like how the lake absorbed the rain without overflow. The paths around Magdala, worn smooth by countless feet, led to familiar spots where quiet thoughts could wander. The greenery on the slopes provided a green tapestry that changed slowly with the seasons, mirroring the internal steadiness that had taken root. This phase, marked by a return to equilibrium, highlighted the subtle ways in which one moment could alter the course, all within the timeless setting of Galilee's shores. The water's surface, calm and reflective, symbolized the inner peace that now resided, offering a visual echo of the healing that had occurred. As nights fell, with stars appearing overhead, the world seemed to align in quiet harmony, the encounter's effects lingering like a soft current beneath the surface. Following her quiet encounter by the lakeside, Mary Magdalene found her steps turning toward a new direction, drawn into the circle of those who walked alongside Jesus. The paths of Galilee stretched out before her, winding through fields of wild grasses that swayed under the sun's warm gaze, leading from one village to another in a steady, unhurried flow. She joined the small group of companions who moved with him, their journeys marked by the soft crunch of sandals on earth and the occasional rustle of leaves from nearby olive trees. The air carried the faint scent of soil warmed by daylight, and distant hills rose in gentle layers, their slopes dotted with scattered stones and patches of green that shifted subtly with the breeze. The decision to follow came as a natural extension of the calm that had settled within her, like a stream finding its way to join a larger river. Days blended into one another along these routes, where the group paused in shaded spots by streams or under the broad branches of sycamores, sharing simple meals of bread and fish gathered from local markets. The landscapes unfolded slowly around them, open plains giving way to clustered homes of sun-baked stone, where children played quietly in doorways and elders sat observing the passers-by. Mary's place among them grew without haste, her presence adding to the unassuming harmony of the gathering. As they moved from the shores of the sea upward into the hills, the terrain rising gradually beneath their feet. Traveling in this way brought a sense of shared purpose, where the roads connected not just places but moments of quiet connection. Jesus led them through valleys where wildflowers bloomed in modest clusters, their petals catching the light in soft hues, and across bridges over narrow brooks that murmured steadily below. The group included others who had felt a similar pull, men and women from varied walks, some leaving behind trades or homes to walk these paths. Mary's role emerged naturally, contributing to the practical needs of the journey, perhaps helping with provisions carried in woven baskets or finding spots to rest when the sun dipped low. The sky above arched wide and clear, clouds drifting lazily across it, offering a canopy that felt both vast and protective. As they progressed, the fellowship deepened through the everyday acts of moving together, stopping in towns where the air filled with the sounds of market vendors calling softly or the distant lowing of livestock. Evenings often found them in open areas, where the fading light painted the horizon in muted tones, and stars began to appear one by one in the darkening sky. The teachings shared in these settings flowed like a calm current, touching on matters of kindness and understanding, woven into the fabric of their travels without urgency. Mary's involvement grew as she absorbed these ideas, her steps aligning with the group's rhythm, the dusty paths becoming familiar underfoot. The journeys took them through diverse terrains, from the flat expanses near the water to the gradual inclines of inland routes, where vineyards clung to the slopes and fig trees offered occasional shade. Companions exchanged glances of quiet solidarity during long walks, the heat of the day tempered by breezes that carried hints of blooming herbs. Mary's transformation continued in these moments, her earlier burdens receding further with each mile, replaced by a steady sense of belonging. The group paused at wells for water, the cool liquid drawn up in steady pulls, refreshing them before continuing onward. Nights brought camps under open skies, where the cool air settled over them like a light blanket, and the sounds of crickets filled the darkness with a soft chorus. This period of following allowed for a gradual unfolding, much like seasons changing over the land. The paths led through orchards heavy with fruit in their time, the branches bending slightly under the weight, and past herds grazing on hillsides, their movements slow and deliberate. Mary's devotion took shape in these shared experiences, her commitment solidifying without words, as the fellowship provided a framework of simple support. The landscapes they crossed mirrored this inner steadiness, rivers flowing calmly beside the roads, birds wheeling overhead in unhurried arcs. Even in moments of rest, by campfires that flickered low and warm, the sense of purpose lingered, binding them in quiet unity. As the travels continued, the group's presence in various villages brought subtle shifts to the days, with locals gathering at times to listen from a distance. Mary's role within the circle remained one of quiet participation, her steps now part of the collective journey that wove through Galilee's varied tapestry. The sun rose and set in reliable cycles, marking time with golden mornings and twilight evenings, where shadows lengthened across the paths. This phase, rich with the steady motion of walking and resting, nurtured a deepening bond, the open skies above serving as a constant witness to their progress. The air, often filled with the faint aroma of earth after rain or the dryness of sun-baked soil, added layers to the experience, grounding them in the land's enduring presence. Over time, the fellowship's paths became etched in memory, each turn and rise familiar like the contours of a well-known hand. Mary's devotion, born from that initial lakeside moment, grew steadily amid these travels, her place secure in the group's unassuming rhythm. The hills and valleys, with their quiet beauty, provided a backdrop that encouraged this growth, the world around them moving in harmony with their steps. In this way, the days of following unfolded peacefully, a chapter of quiet alignment amid the landscapes of Galilee. As Mary Magdalene settled into her place among the companions, her contributions took shape in the form of quiet support for the group's needs, drawn from what resources she held. The paths they traveled through Galilee wound steadily through valleys and up gentle slopes, where the earth yielded grains and fruits that sustained many, and Mary offered from her means to ensure the disciples had provisions for their journeys. Baskets of bread baked in village ovens, or fish caught fresh from the lake's depths, appeared through her quiet arrangements, shared around evening fires that flickered low against the cooling air. The landscapes around them provided a steady backdrop, with fields stretching out in even rows, their soil rich and dark under the sun's measured warmth, and scattered groves where figs ripened slowly on branches that hung low. Her role unfolded without haste, as the group moved from one settlement to another, pausing in places where stone walls enclosed modest homes and wells offered cool water drawn up in steady pools. Mary's offerings extended to cloth for mending garments worn thin by travel, or oil for lamps that burned softly through the nights, illuminating faces gathered in circles on the ground. The hills of Galilee rose and fell in soft undulations, covered in herbs that released faint scents when brushed by passing feet, and the air carried the subtle aroma of earth after occasional rains that left the paths firm yet yielding. In these settings, her support blended into the daily flow, like threads woven into fabric, providing for the physical needs that allowed the teachings to continue without interruption. The journeys led them through areas where vineyards clung to terraced slopes, their leaves rustling faintly in the breeze, and Mary arranged for wine pressed from local grapes to accompany simple meals under open skies. Olives harvested from ancient trees added to the fare, their oil used for cooking or soothing weary hands after long walks. The group's pace remained unhurried, stopping by streams where water flowed clear over smooth stones, and Mary's quiet foresight ensured that pouches of dried fruits or nuts were at hand for moments of rest. The valleys below held small flocks grazing on grasses that bent under the weight of dew in the mornings, and the overall rhythm of travel mirrored the land's own cycles, steady and enduring. As they passed through villages nestled at the foot of hills, where smoke rose lazily from chimneys of baked clay, Mary's contributions included securing lodgings in humble homes, where mats on the floor offered rest beneath roofs that sheltered from evening chills. Her means, perhaps from earlier ties to trade in Magdala, allowed for these quiet acts, never drawing attention but sustaining the fellowship like roots nourishing a tree. The paths connected these places, bordered by wildflowers that bloomed in clusters along the edges, their colors fading softly as daylight waned. Evenings brought a settling calm, with the group gathering around shared provisions, the flames of a small fire casting steady glows on faces turned toward one another. Mary's involvement deepened over time, her support extending to mending items or preparing salves from local plants gathered along the way, applied to blisters or aches from the road. The terrain varied slightly with each leg of the journey, flat expanses near the water giving way to gradual rises where goats wandered among rocks, their bells tinkling faintly in the distance. Water from springs, cool and clear, filled skins carried on shoulders, and Mary's quiet planning ensured these were replenished at stops where brooks crossed the trails. The air often held a dryness warmed by the sun, or a freshness after passing showers that left the ground soft underfoot. Through seasons that shifted gradually, from the green of spring to the golden hues of harvest, Mary's role remained a constant thread, her offerings blending seamlessly into the group's needs. Orchards heavy with fruit provided additional sustenance, picked and shared during pauses beneath branches that offered shade. The overall movement carried a sense of continuity, with the landscapes unfolding in measured layers, the sea visible in the distance at times, its surface calm and expansive. Mary's quiet dedication allowed the focus to remain on the paths ahead, her contributions like the steady flow of a stream that nourishes without demand. As the group continued, crossing bridges over narrow waterways or skirting the edges of fields where workers bent to their tasks, Mary's support adapted to the changing environs. In cooler months, when winds carried a slight chill from the hills, she arranged for warmer cloths or herbs for teas that warmed from within. The stars overhead at night formed patterns that watched over their camps, and the mornings dawned with light spreading slowly across the land. This phase of quiet provision wove her more deeply into the fabric of the fellowship, her actions reflecting a steady commitment amid the enduring beauty of Galilee's varied terrain. Over the extended travels, the support Mary provided became as familiar as the roads themselves, sustaining the group through long stretches where the sun beat down or evenings grew still. The valleys held pockets of shade from clusters of trees, and her foresight in gathering nuts or dried goods from markets ensured nourishment during these times. The air, filled with the subtle sense of blooming plants or ripening crops, added to the sense of ongoing harmony. In this way, her role unfolded peacefully, a quiet anchor in the steady progression of days and nights along the paths of Galilee. As Mary Magdalene continued her quiet journeys with the group, she found herself present for moments where teachings unfolded along the paths of Galilee, like leaves turning slowly in the wind. The words shared in these times came in simple gatherings, often by the lake's edge where the water extended calm and unbroken toward the horizon, or in fields where wild grasses bent under the weight of dew. Parables emerged in these settings, stories drawn from the everyday, seeds scattered on soil, nets cast into the sea, lamps burning steadily through the night, each one settling into the air like a soft veil over the landscape. The hills rose in gentle layers nearby, their slopes covered in scattered vines that caught the light, creating patterns that shifted with the passing hours. The group moved at an unhurried pace, stopping in villages where stone walls enclosed modest courtyards. And there, amid the murmur of daily life, acts of compassion took place. A hand extended to those carrying burdens, a quiet gesture that eased what had long weighed heavy, all within the steady rhythm of the day. Mary observed these occurrences from her place among the companions, the scenes playing out against backdrops of olive groves where branches arched low, offering shade that cooled the ground beneath. The air carried faint scents from the earth, warmed by sunlight filtering through leaves, and the sounds of distant livestock added to the serene flow of the moments. Teachings often occurred near streams that wound through the valleys, their waters flowing clear over smooth stones, providing a natural pause in the travels. Here, lessons on kindness toward others emerged, illustrated by the world around them. The way a shepherd guided a flock across a meadow, or how rain nourished the parched soil without favor. Mary's presence allowed her to take in these ideas gradually, like absorbing the warmth of the sun on skin after a cool morning. The group rested under broad trees during midday, where the leaves rustled faintly overhead, and in these intervals, more stories surfaced, each one rooted in the familiar elements of life, fostering a sense of quiet understanding. Miracles blended into these days without disruption, appearing in unassuming places like dusty roads bordered by wildflowers or quiet shores where boats lay idle. A gathering by the water might see a simple act restore what seemed lost, the lake's surface remaining still as if in quiet acknowledgement. Mary stood nearby during such times, the atmosphere around her one of steady calm, with the hills in the distance standing firm and unchanging. The transitions between travels and rests felt natural, like the shift from daylight to twilight, where the sky deepened gradually and stars began to appear one by one. As the journeys extended through seasons, teachings continued in varied locales. Open plains where winds carried pollen from blooming plants, or shaded groves where figs ripened on branches that hung within reach. Acts of healing occurred in these spaces, gentle restorations that aligned with the land's own cycles of renewal, much like spring growth emerging after winter's rest. Mary's role as witness grew familiar, her steps aligning with the group's movement, the paths becoming well-trodden lines across the terrain. The water's edge often served as a setting, its expanse offering a mirror to the sky above, where clouds drifted lazily without haste. Evenings brought gatherings in quieter spots, perhaps by a fire's low glow in a clearing surrounded by trees, where parables on mercy unfolded amid the settling dusk. The flames cast steady light on faces, and the night air cooled the ground, allowing the words to linger like echoes in the valleys. Mary absorbed these lessons in the same unhurried manner, the content settling deeply amid the serene environment. The miracles witnessed in daylight carried into memory, simple shifts that harmonized with the natural world. The way a storm passed, leaving clearer skies, or how a path cleared after rain. Through it all, the landscapes of Galilee provided a constant, soothing presence, their features unchanging, yet ever varied. Hills cloaked in greenery, streams meandering through lowlands, and the sea's horizon always visible in the distance. Mary's experiences as a witness wove into this tapestry, each teaching or act of compassion adding layers to her quiet observations. The group paused at wells for water, the cool liquid refreshing after long walks, and in these moments, more insights emerged, rooted in the everyday. The air, often dry and warmed by the sun, or freshened by breezes from the lake, enhanced the sense of continuity. As time flowed onward, the teachings and miracles became part of the rhythm, like the steady rise and fall of the terrain underfoot. Open fields gave way to clustered villages, where acts of kindness played out against backdrops of stone homes and market stalls. Mary's place in these events remained one of steady attendance, the details blending into a broader pattern of gentle progression. The hills stood as silent companions, their contours familiar after repeated crossings, and the overall journey fostered a deepening sense of alignment with the paths taken. In cooler periods, when winds carried a slight crispness, gatherings moved to sheltered spots, where parables on forgiveness settled into the air like falling leaves. Healings in these times felt as natural as the seasons' turn, restoring balance amid the land's enduring cycles. Mary's witness to these occurrences continued without interruption, her presence a quiet thread in the group's fabric. The water's surface, calm under moonlight, reflected the night's stars, offering a visual echo of the insights shared. Through valleys and over rises, the experiences accumulated slowly, each one contributing to the serene unfolding of days in Galilee. As the paths of Galilee gave way to the roads leading toward Jerusalem, Mary Magdalene found herself drawn into the unfolding events that carried a deeper weight, her steps now guiding her to a hill outside the city walls. The landscape shifted gradually, from the open valleys to the more rugged terrain where stones scattered across the ground and sparse vegetation clung to the slopes under a sky that hung heavy with clouds. This place, known as the site of executions, rose modestly against the horizon, its outline softened by the distance, with the city of Jerusalem visible below, its rooftops and towers catching the fading light of the day. The air grew still as afternoon turned toward evening, carrying the faint scent of dust stirred by passing feet and the distant murmur of crowds that had gathered earlier. Mary arrived at the foot of the cross amid a small group of companions, their presence a quiet anchor in the midst of the shadowed hours. The hill itself offered little shelter, its surface bare and unyielding, yet the scene unfolded without haste, the sun dipping lower and casting long shadows that stretched across the ground like gentle veils. Wooden beams stood firm, holding the forms above, and the wind moved softly through the area, rustling the few dry grasses that dotted the earth. Mary's steadfast position there reflected a solidarity born of the journeys shared. Her figure one among the few who remained as others drifted away with the passing time. The atmosphere settled into a profound quiet, broken only by the occasional creak of wood or the far-off call of birds wheeling overhead, their wings tracing slow arcs against the dimming sky. The hours on that hill passed in measured increments, the light shifting from the warmth of midday to the cooler tones of dusk, where the sky deepened into shades of gray and blue. Mary stood with a composure that mirrored the land's enduring patience, her gaze steady amid the sorrow that enveloped the scene like a soft fog rolling in from the valleys below. The ground beneath her feet felt solid, rooted in the ancient soil of Judea, where stones worn smooth by countless seasons provided a sense of continuity. Nearby, the other women who had traveled from Galilee maintained their vigil, their forms silhouetted against the fading horizon, adding to the quiet fellowship that persisted through the afternoon's length. As time wore on, the shadows lengthened further, merging with the approaching evening, and the air cooled gradually, bringing a hush that settled over the hill like a blanket drawn close. The city in the distance began to light its lamps, small points of glow appearing one by one, mirroring the stars that would soon emerge above. Mary's presence endured without wavering, a testament to the bonds formed along dusty roads and by calm lakesides, her role one of silent witness in this moment of profound transition. The wind stirred lightly again, carrying faint echoes from the city walls, where life continued its steady flow beyond the hill's isolation. The crucifixion's progression unfolded in this serene yet somber setting, with the sky overhead vast and unchanging, clouds drifting lazily as if unaware of the events below. Mary's solidarity remained a quiet thread, connecting her to the others who stood nearby, their shared silence a form of gentle support amid the hill's barren expanse. The earth around them held remnants of earlier rains, small puddles reflecting the muted light, and the occasional shift of a stone underfoot added to the scene's unhurried rhythm. As the sun continued its descent, the colors of the landscape softened, the hills in the background blending into a tapestry of subdued hues that invited a sense of gradual closure. Evening approached without rush, the light fading into twilight where the first stars blinked into view, their presence a soft reminder of the night's arrival. Mary's vigil continued, her form steady against the cooling breeze that now carried a touch of chill from the higher ground. The hill, once bathed in the day's warmth, now settled into darkness, the outlines of the crosses becoming silhouettes against the deepening sky. In this transition, the atmosphere grew even more tranquil, the sounds of the distant city fading to a murmur, allowing the quiet of the moment to envelop everything. Through the shadowed hours, Mary's presence offered a quiet continuity, her steadfastness like the enduring rocks that formed the hill's foundation. The air grew cooler still, with the scent of night-blooming plants beginning to emerge from the surrounding fields, adding layers to the serene environment. The group's small circle maintained its place, the bonds between them unspoken yet palpable, as the night deepened around them. The stars multiplied overhead, forming patterns that watched over the scene, their light faint but steady. As darkness fully settled, the hill became a place of profound stillness, the events of the day giving way to the night's calm embrace. Mary's role in those hours reflected the quiet strength accumulated from her travels, her solidarity a gentle thread woven into the fabric of the moment. The landscape, now shrouded in night, held a peaceful hush, with the wind dying down to whispers that brushed the grasses. In this way, the time on the hill unfolded into memory, a chapter marked by quiet endurance amid the earth's steady presence. As the shadows lengthened on the hill outside Jerusalem, Mary Magdalene remained among the small group that lingered, her steps now turning toward the task that followed in the quiet aftermath. The air cooled gradually as evening approached, carrying the faint scent of dust settled after the day's unrest, and the sky above deepened into softer shades where the first hints of stars began to appear. The path led downward from the hill, winding through sparse vegetation that clung to the rocky ground, guiding them to a garden nearby where tombs had been hewn from the stone, their entrances like silent doorways into the earth. This place, set apart from the city's bustle, offered a sense of seclusion, with low walls enclosing areas where olive trees stood with branches that arched gently overhead, their leaves stirring faintly in the breeze. Mary's watchful presence continued as the body of Jesus was prepared with care. Wrapped in clean linens that had been brought for this purpose, the fabric soft against the fading light. The group moved without hurry, their actions measured in the dimming day, placing spices and herbs among the folds, scents of myrrh and aloe rising subtly into the air, blending with the earthy aroma of the garden soil. The tomb itself waited open, a chamber carved into the rock face, its interior cool and shadowed, inviting a final rest amid the quiet solidity of stone. Birds called softly from nearby branches, their notes trailing off as the sun slipped lower, casting long rays that filtered through the leaves in golden hues before softening to gray. The garden enveloped them in its serene embrace, with paths of packed earth leading between beds where herbs grew in orderly rows, their leaves releasing mild fragrances when brushed by passing robes. Mary stood nearby, her gaze steady on the proceedings, as the body was carried with gentle hands into the tomb's entrance, the weight distributed among those who had followed this far. The stone walls of the chamber absorbed the last echoes of footsteps, creating a hush that settled over everything like a light covering. Outside, the evening light played across the ground, highlighting small stones and patches of grass that bent under the cooling air, while distant sounds from the city faded to a murmur, leaving the garden in peaceful isolation. As the placement concluded, the large stone was rolled into position with a low rumble that echoed briefly before silence returned, sealing the entrance with a sense of finality that blended into the night's approach. Mary's attendance persisted in this moment, her form one of quiet vigilance amid the group that now stepped back, the garden's tranquility restoring a measure of calm after the day's wait. The air grew cooler still, with dew beginning to form on the leaves and petals of nearby flowers, their colors muting in the twilight. The olive trees stood as silent sentinels, their trunks rough and enduring, roots anchored deep in the soil that had witnessed countless cycles of day and night. The fading light lingered on the horizon, painting the sky in layers of deepening blue, where clouds drifted without purpose, allowing stars to emerge one by one in the vast expanse above. Mary's role in this observance carried a steady continuity, linking the events of the hill to this garden repose, where the earth itself seemed to cradle what had been laid within. The paths around the tomb wound gently, bordered by low shrubs that rustled faintly, and the overall atmosphere invited a gradual settling. Much like the way night overtakes the day without rush, small insects began their evening chorus, a soft hum that filled the spaces between, harmonizing with the garden's inherent peace. Time passed in unmeasured increments, the group dispersing slowly as darkness deepened, leaving Mary among the last to depart, her steps retreating along the path that led away from the sealed stone. The garden remained behind, its features now shrouded in night, with the tomb integrated into the landscape like a natural formation. The air held a freshness that came with the cool hours, scents of soil and herbs mingling in the stillness, offering a quiet closure to the day's progression. Mary's watchful attendance, marked by this serene withdrawal, reflected the enduring bonds that had brought her here, her presence a quiet thread in the unfolding narrative. The night fully claimed the garden, stars multiplying overhead in patterns that stretched across the sky, their light faint yet constant. The tomb rested undisturbed, the stone entrance blending into the rock face, while the olive branches overhead swayed imperceptibly. In this hush, the events settled into memory, the garden's tranquility enveloping everything like a soft layer of mist rising from the ground. Mary's journey from the site carried with it the weight of what she had witnessed, yet the peaceful setting provided a gentle buffer, allowing the transition to unfold without abruptness. As hours slipped by under the starlit canopy, the garden maintained its calm vigil, the earth absorbing the day's remnants in steady silence. The paths lay empty now, dew collecting on leaves and stones, reflecting the faint glow from above. This place, with its quiet integration of nature and stone, stood as a testament to repose, where the burial's completion marked a pause in the broader flow. Mary's departure blended into the night, her steps fading along the winding trails, leaving the tomb in the garden's enduring embrace. The air cooled further, winds dying to whispers, and the world around settled into a profound stillness that invited reflection without demand. The garden's features, low walls, scattered trees, and the sealed tomb, formed a harmonious whole, the night's darkness softening edges and contours. Small creatures moved quietly in the underbrush, their presence adding to the subtle life that persisted. This phase, following the hill's events, offered a space for quiet conclusion, the burial observed and completed amid the land's natural rhythms. Mary's role as witness lingered in the memory of the place, her attendance a quiet anchor in the serene unfolding. The stars continued their watch, the garden holding its peace through the hours, a sanctuary where time moved in gentle currents. As dawn began to spread across the garden outside Jerusalem, Mary Magdalene set out along the paths that led to the tomb, her steps measured on the cool earth still damp from the night's dew. The sky lightened gradually from deep indigo to softer grays, with the first hints of pink touching the horizon where the hills met the heavens. The air carried a freshness that came with early morning, mingled with the subtle sense of herbs growing in scattered patches along the way, their leaves brushing against her as she passed. Olive trees lined the edges of the garden, their branches arching overhead like quiet sentinels, leaves stirring faintly in the light breeze that moved through the leaves without urgency. The ground beneath her feet felt firm yet yielding, small stones shifting slightly under each step, leading her forward through the dim light that filtered through the foliage. The garden itself unfolded in layers of tranquility, with low stone walls enclosing areas where vines climbed steadily, their tendrils wrapping around supports in unhurried coils. Mary carried spices in a simple bundle, prepared earlier in the quiet hours before light, their aromas of myrrh and aloe blending softly with the morning air. The paths wound gently between beds of plants, where flowers hung heavy with moisture, petals closed against the coolness that lingered from the night. Birds began their calls from hidden perches, notes rising and falling in a rhythm that matched the slow awakening of the day, while distant sounds from the city remained muffled, as if the world held its breath in these early moments. Approaching the tomb, the large stone that had sealed the entrance came into view, its surface rough and unchanging, set against the rock face from which the chamber had been carved. The garden's serenity enveloped the site, with dew collecting on the stone like small beads that caught the emerging light. Mary's pace remained steady, her form moving through the soft glow that now spread across the ground, illuminating patches of grass and scattered leaves. As she drew nearer, the expected sight of the sealed entrance shifted, the stone no longer in place, rolled aside in a manner that left the opening exposed to the morning air. The chamber within appeared empty, its interior shadowed but touched by the dawn's faint rays that slipped inside, revealing bare walls and a sense of absence where presence had been laid. The discovery settled over her like the gradual lift of fog from a valley, the emptiness of the tomb standing in quiet contrast to the garden's living presence around it. Linens lay folded within, their fabric undisturbed on the stone shelf, while the spices she carried now seemed part of a ritual interrupted by this unforeseen turn. The air inside the chamber felt cooler, still, with no trace of what had been placed there days before, only the faint echo of spices lingering from the initial preparation. Mary's gaze took in the scene without rush, the morning light strengthening slowly, casting longer shadows that played across the floor in even patterns. The garden outside continued its awakening, with insects beginning to hum near the flowers, their movements adding a subtle layer to the stillness. Time in that moment extended, the dawn's progress marking the passage without haste as the sky brightened further and warmed the air. Mary's presence at the tomb's entrance remained composed, her observations absorbing the details, the rolled stone resting nearby, its weight evident in the marks on the ground, and the chamber's quiet void that invited quiet contemplation. The paths leading away from the site wound back through the garden, bordered by shrubs that now caught the light in their leaves, dew evaporating in thin wisps. Birds continued their songs, weaving through the air like threads in a loom, harmonizing with the serene atmosphere that enveloped everything. As the light grew, illuminating the tomb more fully, the emptiness stood as a silent fact, the linens arranged in a way that suggested order amid the unexpected. The garden's elements, the steady growth of vines, the firm earth underfoot, provided a grounding contrast, their continuity unchanging against the chamber's bareness. Mary's time there lingered, allowing the scene to settle into memory, the morning advancing with the sun climbing higher, its rays now reaching deeper into the space. The air warmed slightly, carrying the day's promise, while the distant hills remained steadfast on the horizon. The discovery's implications unfolded gradually in her mind, much like the light spreading across the landscape, touching each part in turn. The tomb, carved from solid rock, held its quiet now, the absence within resonating softly with the garden's life outside. Mary's departure came without abruptness, her steps retracing the path through the dew-covered grounds, where flowers began to open their petals to the warming sun. The garden retained its peace, the tomb integrated into its midst like a natural feature, and the morning continued its steady progression, birds flitting between branches in unhurried flight. In the hours that followed, the garden returned to its usual calm, the paths empty once more, dew fully evaporated under the risen sun. The tomb's entrance, now open to the air, allowed breezes to pass through, stirring faint dust particles that settled again without disturbance. Mary's witness to this emptiness became part of the broader tapestry, her role a quiet thread connecting the events. The landscape around Jerusalem, with its rolling terrain and scattered trees, absorbed the morning's revelations in silence, the world moving forward in its enduring rhythm. In the soft light of early morning, as mist hung low over the garden outside Jerusalem, Mary Magdalene lingered near the empty tomb, her steps slow on the dew-covered paths that wound between the stone walls and scattered shrubs. The air carried a cool freshness, mingled with the faint sense of earth and herbs that had absorbed the night's quiet, while the sky above lightened gradually from deep gray to a pale dawn hue. Olive branches arched overhead, their leaves still and heavy with moisture, casting faint shadows that shifted imperceptibly as the first rays of sun filtered through. The garden remained in a state of serene awakening, with small droplets collecting on petals and leaves, reflecting the emerging light like scattered points of quiet glow. Mary's presence there extended from the discovery of emptiness, her form moving without haste through the familiar grounds where the tomb's entrance now stood open, inviting the morning's gentle intrusion. As the mist began to lift in thin wisps, rising from the ground like soft breaths from the earth, a figure appeared in the garden's quiet expanse, standing amid the paths where dew still clung to the grasses. The encounter unfolded gradually, without suddenness, as if the morning itself had arranged this meeting in its unhurried way. Jesus, risen and present, emerged in the misty light, his form blending with the serene surroundings, the stone walls behind him, the vines climbing steadily nearby, and the distant hills rising in layers under the widening sky. Mary's approach came naturally, her steps drawing her closer through the cool air that now warmed slightly with the sun's ascent, the garden's elements aligning in peaceful harmony around them. The meeting carried a tenderness that permeated the space, like the way dawn softens the edges of night, allowing light to spread without force. Jesus stood there, a quiet embodiment of renewal, his presence evoking a sense of continuity amid the garden's living quiet. The rustle of leaves stirred by a faint breeze, the distant call of birds beginning their day. Mary and her steady gaze received this encounter as part of the morning's flow, where the mist parted slowly to reveal clearer paths ahead. A message of hope settled into the moment, conveyed in the serene atmosphere that enveloped them, suggesting paths forward like the garden's trails extending beyond the visible. The air held a subtle shift, as if the dew evaporating from the ground mirrored an inner lifting, the sun's rays now touching the stone surfaces with a gentle warmth. The garden's tranquility supported this exchange, with its features, the low stone benches, the scattered wildflowers opening to the light, providing a backdrop of enduring calm. Mary's role as witness continued here, her earlier discoveries now weaving into this new layer, the emptiness of the tomb giving way to a presence that filled the space without overwhelming it. The mist lingered in pockets, softening the outlines of trees and walls, while the sky overhead expanded in clearer blue, stars fading one by one into the day. This tender meeting, set against the garden's quiet beauty, marked a pivot in the unfolding events, where hope emerged like sunlight breaking through clouds after a long night. Time in the garden passed without rush, the sun climbing higher and casting longer rays that played across the ground in even patterns. Mary's encounter drew to a close gradually, her steps retreating along the paths as the figure receded into the morning's embrace, leaving the space imbued with a lingering sense of promise. The herbs and flowers around her released their scents more fully now, warmed by the light, adding to the atmosphere of gentle renewal. The hills in the distance stood firm, their contours familiar under the broadening day, serving as silent witnesses to the shift that had occurred. As Mary moved away, the garden settled back into its rhythm, the mist fully dissipated and the air now carrying the day's warmth. The tomb remained open, integrated into the landscape like a natural hollow in the rock, while vines nearby continued their slow climb. This moment of meeting, tender and unforced, blended into the broader tapestry of the morning, where the world awakened in steady progression. The paths led outward, bordered by shrubs that rustled faintly, inviting continuation beyond the garden's walls. The hope conveyed lingered like the light that now filled the space, touching each element, the stone, the leaves, the earth, in quiet affirmation. Mary's journey from this point carried the encounter's essence, a soft undercurrent amid the day's unfolding. The garden, with its serene features, held the memory, the sun's rays strengthening without glare, illuminating the paths in gentle invitation. Birds flitted between branches, their movements adding subtle life to the stillness, harmonizing with the overall peace that pervaded. In the hours that followed, the garden returned to its usual state, the events absorbed into its enduring calm, with dew evaporated and flowers fully open. The encounter's tenderness echoed in the landscape's quiet, a reminder of possibilities woven into the ordinary. Mary's steps, now leading away, reflected this, her path aligned with the morning's flow. The hills rolled on, unchanging, while the sky arched wide above, the world moving forward in its timeless rhythm. This phase, marked by a meeting in the misty light, offered a sense of quiet completion, the garden standing as a place where renewal took root without fanfare. Mary Magdalene's life, woven through the landscapes of Galilee and the quiet gardens of Jerusalem, left behind a presence that continued to resonate long after her time, like a distant echo carried on evening winds. Her role as a witness to pivotal moments, standing by the cross, discovering the empty tomb, and encountering the risen Christ, became a thread that later generations picked up, incorporating her story into the broader tapestry of early Christian narratives. In the years following those events, her devotion persisted in subtle ways. Her name mentioned in accounts that spread through communities gathering in homes and hidden spaces, where stories were shared over simple meals under lamplight. The air in those early gatherings might have carried the faint scent of bread and oil, much like the provisions she once helped provide, fostering a sense of continuity amid changing times. As centuries unfolded, Mary's legacy took shape in art and tradition, her figure appearing in paintings where artists captured her in moments of quiet reflection, often near the tomb or by the sea's edge, with soft colors blending into serene backgrounds of hills and water. Sculptures in stone and wood depicted her with a steady gaze, placed in churches where candlelight flickered across their surfaces, casting gentle shadows that danced slowly on walls worn by time. These representations served as quiet reminders of her steadfastness, inviting those who passed by to pause in the dim interiors, where the hush of stone arches amplified the sense of enduring calm. Her story traveled through manuscripts copied by hand in monasteries, the pages turning under careful fingers, preserving details that spoke of loyalty without fanfare. In liturgical practices that evolved over time, Mary's example found a place in readings and observances, her witness to renewal marking certain days on the calendar, with a soft emphasis on hope emerging from stillness. Festivals in her honor arose in various regions, where processions moved through streets lined with ancient buildings, candles held aloft against the twilight, their flames steady in the cooling air. These customs blended historical memory with local traditions, allowing her legacy to adapt like a river, finding new channels through varied terrain. In quiet chapels tucked into hillsides or along coastal paths, her image overlooked altars where incense rose in thin streams, mingling with the scents of polished wood and fresh flowers arranged in simple vases. Mary's influence extended into literature and poetry, where writers drew from her experiences to explore themes of transformation, her path from inner struggle to devoted companionship serving as a subtle undercurrent in verses recited in evening gatherings. The words flowed in measured rhythms, evoking the calm of Galilee's shores or the garden's dew-covered mornings, offering a sense of peaceful progression through life's shifts. In music composed for sacred spaces, melodies inspired by her story filled vaulted ceilings, notes lingering in the air like mist over water, providing solace in their unhurried cadence. These expressions, passed down through generations, kept her memory alive in ways that felt organic, like seeds scattered on fertile soil taking root over time. Through the ages, her legacy became associated with themes of quiet strength, her presence at key moments symbolizing endurance amid uncertainty, much like the steady flow of a stream through changing seasons. In medieval times, tales of her later travels emerged in folklore, depicting her moving across seas to distant lands, where she shared accounts in serene settings by firelight, the waves lapping nearby in rhythmic patterns. These stories, whether rooted in fact or legend, added layers to her enduring image, portraying a life that continued to inspire without demand. In art from those eras, illuminations and books showed her in tranquil poses, surrounded by symbols of renewal like blooming branches or calm waters, their colors muted and harmonious. As time progressed into later centuries, Mary's role as a figure of devotion found expression in pilgrimages to sites connected to her story, where travelers walked paths that echoed her own, the ground firm underfoot and the skies wide above. Shrines dedicated to her stood in quiet locations, their interiors lit by votive candles that burned steadily, casting warm glows on walls adorned with simple frescoes. These places invited reflection in their stillness, where the air held a faint trace of wax and stone, fostering a sense of connection across time. Her legacy also influenced charitable works, with groups drawing from her example of support, aiding others in unassuming ways that mirrored her provisions during the journeys through Galilee. In modern contexts, Mary's story persists in books and films that recount her experiences with a gentle touch, focusing on her quiet witness amid historical events, allowing audiences to engage at their own pace. Celebrations on her feast day occur in churches worldwide, with readings that highlight her steadfastness, the words spoken in measured tones that fill the space without overwhelming. Artistic interpretations continue to evolve, with paintings and sculptures capturing her in serene compositions, often against backdrops of soft landscapes that evoke peace. Her influence extends to music and poetry still composed today, melodies and verses that carry forward the essence of her devotion in subtle rhythms. Reflecting on her legacy invites a sense of continuity, where her life serves as a quiet bridge between past and present, her witness to renewal enduring like the steady cycles of nature. Through art, tradition, and quiet remembrance, Mary's story remains a soft presence, offering a thread of inspiration that weaves through time without insistence. The landscape she knew, the shores, hills, and gardens, symbolize this lasting calm, their features unchanging in memory. In this way, her legacy flows onward, a gentle current in the broader stream of history, touching lives in unhurried ways. The stars that watched over her paths continue their vigil, the earth holding echoes of her steps, allowing her example to linger in peaceful resonance.